working. Let's roll. Let's try it. We can try it. Sir Lloyd, you can hear me? You're muted.
I'm unmuted now.
Unmute. Boy, you're thinking HD, man. Cool, no? Cool, no? Welcome to the program. You think crispy or HD? Welcome, sir.
Thing, you know?
Well, you're doing. That's right. You do it.
Thanks for having me. What's up, Fitzroy?
Yeah, greetings, Sir Lloyd Stanbury. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Always a joy. Always a joy. Sir Lloyd, a lot of the things that I'm speaking to Mr. Fitzroy Francis about today are stuff that you and I have spoken about. However, what I must say and thank you for a lot of times is just your commentary. I tell you this. You just dropping a commentary on Facebook in the morning gives me something to enjoy for the duration of the day, right? The post is one.
I should probably drop it at night then.
But then you're gonna keep me up. That ain't fair. But more than the comments, the part of it that I really dial into is the comments beneath the post. Now, we've spoken a lot of times, and you've spoken a lot of times about what's going on culturally, reggae music in Jamaica. And sometimes it's as plain as night and day. But somebody will always oppose, or somebody will always have a counter argument to something that to me is as clear as night and day, right? Now, does it frustrate you at all, or are you just enthused and entertained when you see the responses to some of your posts?
No, it doesn't frustrate me. I try to be patient. We don't share a lot of information, one, and there are a lot of persons who are not curious enough to go seek information. So I understand, when someone is not up to speed with, what might be the topic of discussion. It doesn't really frustrate me. Just try to be patient and, let the discussion flow, and hopefully at the end of the day, which is the purpose of my posts, I don't post to provoke anybody. I really don't, but it seems like I do provoke people. But I post because I want people to have conversations, and I want people to think about what I said.
Right.
Really, so if I say, for example, that right now we don't have any reggae bands, no ska bands, and maybe, well, I didn't say maybe, and I said in the future we may see no reggae band or no dancehall band. I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not predicting anything. What I'm saying is, have we learned any lessons over the years, from our experiences, where we create things and sometimes we create them and then we run away from them, abandon them, or don't nurture them, don't allow them to grow and expand and embrace them to the fullest.
Right.
And other people see the value in what we create and take it and run with it. And if they did it with ska, if we are careless, they will do it with reggae. Well, let me rephrase. They are doing it with reggae as we speak.
Thanks for the correction. Thanks for the correction.
Yeah. And if we don't learn any lessons from our experiences, we may very well see a day when the bands that are playing Jamaican music are not coming out of Jamaica.
Right.
That's the point I was trying to make. I wasn't making any predictions, or anything like that. I just want people to think about what we have experienced and look at what is happening currently.
So you weren't being a prophet by any means?
No, not at all. But I just want people to think about the possibility that could happen.
But it's already happening, though. Again, like I said, I find the commentary hilarious, just the way people respond. And when people ask me this off the record, I generally say I feel like we as Jamaicans, we have a patriotic and a cultural affinity to the music where we claim ownership on it. It's not like R&B or hip hop where America doesn't claim ownership of R&B and hip hop, right? Our country. It's just different genres. But Jamaica claims ownership of reggae music and all of our music, and primarily because the truth is our music has done more to brand and market and bring revenue to our nation than any of the other resources. We've lost bauxite, we've lost the banana export, sugar export, all of them something. Our ganja we lose. But the only thing is we still have reggae music as the most, even though it's sonically, I'm going to say the most tangible resource, and also the one infinite resource. I think that's the reason why the people are so attached to it. But I think the flip side of that is whenever we take sentiment as the most as the strongest part of our opinion, we can't be fair and we can't be unbiased. You mentioned in your post scare bands, and I even had the conversation today. Even the people who say, well, no, that's not true, well, go on, tell me one scare band in Jamaica, just one, and I'm not asking for 5, 10, or 15. Tell me one scare band in Jamaica does not exist. Now, I'm not saying they're not bands that when people look for something. So I'm not saying that there aren't bands that when they're booked for something, they don't play a ska song, right? But the conversation I had today is this: the music that is performed on the stage comes from the music that was recorded in the studio, right? I want somebody to tell me about the last ska song that was recorded in Jamaica. So forget about the bands going out there. And I'm saying this just to accentuate the concept of abandonment, right? Where I agree, and I think it's an abandoned sector of the music, because I've checked, I've asked, I've done the research of people out there. Nobody can tell me when there's the last time an artist, a band, whomever went into a studio and recorded a ska song in Jamaica, with the exclusion of, an album that Richie Stephens dropped some time back, which was probably not even recorded in Jamaica. But talk to me a little bit about that. Have you heard? Maybe you have some knowledge. I don't.
Yeah, there are quite a few artists
recording.
Yeah, in fact, it has almost become a trend where a lot of artists have at least one ska tune on their album.
Right.
Yeah,
I got one.
Or like it's almost like a token ska.
Yeah.
They just drop it in.
And that's what I meant.
A lot of artists have been recording ska songs on their albums. Or even if it's not on their album, they have recorded in their recent body of works. Yeah, quite a few people are doing that. But there's no band that I'm aware of, apart from now hearing of the band at Alpha, that Sparrow Martin has been, instrumental in keeping going.
Right.
Apart from that band, I'm not aware of any bands that are recording and performing live ska music that is coming out of Jamaica. And there are hundreds of bands that are doing that from all over the world.
Right.
They define themselves or brand themselves as ska bands, even though they're playing a lot of other music forms fused with the ska. They play reggae mixed up in the ska and rocksteady and punk, and but they define themselves, they brand themselves
as a ska band.
But the music is all about branding, It's all about branding, music business. See, the Latinos come and they brand something named reggaeton. It's all about branding. Reggaeton. I call that word. I get
a little cringe, too. Fitzroy, let me ask you this. What's your take on the whole? Let me clarify something. The views of G. Cole does not represent those of Mr. Lloyd Stanbury, Mr. Fitzroy Francis, Jamaicans.com, or anybody. So if I rant, it's a disclaimer. I see that I see an abandonment. This is just me, only because, again, I'm guilty too. We have a ska song, but it was a nostalgic thing. It was us holding on to a period of time, saying, "Let me just put this one thing on there," so it's always cemented and being there. We did that, but I'm not I'm not going into record a ska album myself, but the people who say they're musicians, right? We don't see that happening. I have my own theories behind it, which I'll get into in a second. But Fitzroy, talk to me about your view, your vantage point. What do you see? And we're getting specific right now with ska, but like I said, we can nail down every other genre and subgenre that's ever come out of Jamaica. But let's go with ska. What's your view when this is ska music and how it's been treated in Jamaica?
I would say unfairly. And I want to make a correction. Michael Rose has just did an album named Ska Ska Ska, a whole complete album with ska. Recently, maybe a year or 2 years ago.
Have that album, great album.
Yes.
But the only reason I didn't mention that is I don't consider it a Jamaican thing. Honestly, in terms of recorded in Jamaica.
Well, Michael Rose, and we have to connect that to Jamaican. But what Mr. Lloyd Stanbury said it is true, because the first time I went to New Orleans to do a festival. And that festival, it's a complete ska. And there was no Jamaican band or singer or musician playing ska.
Right.
None. I'm in touch right now with a virgin named Josh Harris. He was part of the Untouchable, which is the first ska band in the United States. And when I listen to some music that they did, I said, but Jamaica, we create ska, we're not even capitalizing. It's like, as Mr. Stanbury said, maybe in the future we'll do have a reggae band, because it might not come from Jamaica. Because when you go on the festival in Europe or the West Coast, you see more roots reggae band, which is non-Jamaican, than even reggae band, even Jamaican reggae. And then, tell me when last year about Jamaica, a dancehall band. All right, what's the Raging Fire was coming and then mash up. What else come after that? I've not seen anything. So that post, as Mr. Lloyd Stanbury said, is not being prophetic, but it's reality. It's a logics.
Right.
And it can become factual if people don't learn and know, say, you know what, this is very important, and we must protect it.
Right.
We must protect it.
We have to. Yeah. The amazing thing about your post in a Lloyd is we use the word prophetic, right? Like Lloyd is a soothsayer, you know what I mean? And but the truth is
I'm a warner.
You're right.
A warner man.
You're the warner man. Personally, I don't see it as a prophetic statement. I see it as today's statement. It is pretty current. We're talking again, ska. I said to somebody I was having a conversation with today, let's say we did have those ska bands in Jamaica. Let's say some people right now decided, you know what, that's ska we're doing. Not 10 bands, one or two. What's the likeliness that they could sustain themselves in Jamaica? Right? Let's say that there's a ska band, we're going to do shows, we're setting up shows. Is the appreciation there? Because one thing, again, the views expressed by G. Cole does not represent those of Lloyd Stanbury or Mr. Fitzroy Francis. So here's the deal. I always feel like there's an entity that escapes blame here. And that is the fans. I think we have the wackest fans in the world. I think the fans suck. The views of G. Cole, the fans suck, all right? That's just me. Because we want blame, we want to have our say when it comes to the creative part of it. And we want to say people are abandoned and people are fuse other things. And this whole hybrid thing ain't for us. Give us the authentic thing. But when the authentic thing comes, we ain't trying to support it. So you tell me this, Lloyd. If there was a ska band or two right about now, would they be able to sustain themselves in Jamaica?
Well, I don't think any band, ska, reggae, or otherwise, can sustain themselves by just focusing on the Jamaican market. But I have to support your point about the fans. In that we have a role to play. The fans, people who buy music and go to choose which shows they want to go to.
Right.
We need to play our part in supporting artists, bands that try to maintain or promote our cultural roots.
Right.
And we tend not to do that. So they get discouraged they turn elsewhere. They go towards where they think they're going to get, popular acclaim.
Right.
So the fans, who are usually the ones who also complain and talk about how we have abandoned and how people thief for music and thief for culture and things like that. They don't support our culture or our music.
True.
Yeah.
True.
People love the music. So if other persons pick up the music and play the music and present it to their community, they're going to just eat it up. And that is what is happening. We are not supporting our own. So the fans have a big role to play, and they're a big part of the problem. They don't support the people who are trying to do what they claim other persons are stealing from us. But they're not showing appreciation for it.
In any way.
It's a huge issue. It's a big problem that we're facing right now, and I have been making these little comments a little bit more often than usual, because I think we are going through a period right now where the issues that we have been facing in our music industry are going to be exacerbated. They're going to become even more challenging as a result of this pandemic.
Right.
A lot of things are going to impact how we move forward in the music industry. What markets we're probably going to have to shift our focus to, because the United States government say you can't come in if you don't get a vaccine and you don't have a test after the 8th of November, unless you're an American.
Right.
That is what I understand the new rule to be saying.
But that's even saying that we have our product that we're taking out there, because here's something that, again, still on the scare vibe, right? I've noticed this when it comes to marketing something. I think not just musicians, not just the music industry, but people at large and businesses at large sometimes miss the mark because they focus on the marketing without focusing on the marketing audience. Some people are tailoring their stuff to an audience that they haven't identified the audience yet. So what's happening pretty much is the ska bands that we see. If we had these Jamaican bands, right? At the end of the day, your fan base and your listenership is what's going to drive this thing. When we look in the audience, let's turn the cameras off of the stage and turn it to the audience. Majority of the people coming out in the audience are not Black people, are not Jamaican people, are not Caribbean people. All right, believe it or not, Carnival are different, something wind up, turn up. But when it comes to the roots reggae and the cultural stuff, the ska and whatnot, if you look in the audience, a lot of them, that's not us. So is that one of the things driving our musicians? Because we always say, well, the man abandon the thing, whether it be reggae, ska, or whatever. But is the fact that the support is not there and it's just not a viable market, the commercial viability of the product is just not there, which is what leading people to either abandon it or create something different. Again, I'm putting it on the fans, because again, looking in that audience when those non-Jamaican ska bands are out there, it's not like it's Jamaicans shaking them legs in the audience. It's not the Jamaicans, right?
Well, that's not a new thing though, And I mean, I always love to use Bob Marley as my case study, and who we should learn from. Yeah, it was like that when Bob was playing and touring. The audience internationally were primarily non-Jamaican people.
Right.
So it has always been that with Jamaican music. So it's nothing new. The artists need to know how to capture and keep that market going.
Right.
They can't run away from the market.
Right.
That's what you're saying, that they're turned off because they don't see themselves in the audience, meaning people like themselves appreciating their music. There's always been that way.
Well, not their period. There is not that they're not, because okay, We complain again about, let's call us like the white reggae bands and the white reggae artists, right? And the attention they're getting and the success that they're getting. But it's white people buying their music, right? So even though we are a small percentage of the populace, if we were buying our music, then there would be some form of sustainability. And I'm not talking about Jamaica only now, because stats will show you that technically there's more Jamaicans living outside of Jamaica than in Jamaica. You know? So if we were supporting the stuff, then that's one thing. But again, my concern pretty much is it's not just reggae, it's not just ska, it's any product that we create, that we depend on a market that's not us. Ultimately, aren't they going to create their own versions of it? Because how long will they want to import?
That is true.
Something that they can create for themselves.
I agree with you. The home base or the ethnic market that is overseas should provide the initial support to keep whatever the band is doing viable to a certain degree.
Right.
So that they can transition from there into the wider market where the persons who they are playing to don't look like them. But to get there, they have to get the support of the home base, to a certain degree. There are artists who have succeeded without that home base. They got popular with the overseas non-Jamaican audience, and then Jamaica accepted them. Right. The majority rely on the home base support.
Right.
It's very important to have that home base support to make the product and the project viable. And we do not have we don't have that level of support that is needed. It's not out there.
Fitzroy, let me ask you this, because a lot of times, again, earlier I mentioned that the difference with reggae and adverse to many other genres is that they're independent wholly and solely, no matter where you are. Reggaeton, I don't know if reggaeton is bringing in revenue for Latin American countries and Latin countries in general. But again, if there was no R&B tomorrow, if there was no hip hop tomorrow, I don't think it would affect entertainment and revenue coming into persons' pockets and whatnot. I don't think it would be the tumble and the crumble of the nation. But truth be told, reggae has branded Jamaica more than anything else in the world. Reggae and Rastafari has branded Jamaica, because even when they don't want the Rastaman to walk on the street, they'll put them on a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? And that is the marketing piece, as well as even the reggae music. You don't want the reggae music playing in certain places at certain hours, but it's going to be in a commercial to be played 24 hours a day, because that's how we're branding the nation. Now, had this conversation with someone, and we feel like the government has dropped the ball in terms of, since it's, we went, well, government not singing reggae, but they do benefit from it more than anything else. Now, my question would be this, for all the folks who feel like the government should have a say. Anything government get involved in, a government take control over. So my concern is, should there be any fear if we do keep knocking on the government's door and say, government, help us out, what you gonna do? What about the repercussions? Should we have any fear of that, Fitzroy? What do you think?
Government is important to play a role, because they are the legislators to protect us as a practitioner. Because as I'm saying now, a lot of us, we have this fear to be involved in things like that. We see them, like they say. It's just like today, a man will say, boy, Rasta is not a religion, but yes, they want religious exemption not to take the vaccine.
What be like that?
A man will say, Rasta is not a religion, but yes, they are seeking religious exemption not to do something. It's just like the music. Remember, reggae music started as an anti-establishment, anti-government music. But at the end of the day, the protection come from the government, because we don't have no entity. The music don't have no entity that protect us. So we still have to know, sir. And Babs the Grange is doing a good job. Babs the Grange, I must commend her. Believe me.
You know what's sad?
And I want to say this before. Mr. Lloyd, Stanbury, and you said something about a lot of these white reggae bands. You know why a lot of these white reggae bands are started today? Like the Revolutions and the Soldiers, and they play a lot of free concerts. They go on minivan and tour. They drive behind a lot of reggae artists and do open gigs. Like when they are coming on, is like 10 people in the venue. And today it flip.
Yeah.
It flip. A lot of people will say, oh, they want to. No, they sacrifice. They do a lot of free shows. So today, I am so proud of them, because I was on the road, a lot of them. I see Mr. Stanbury talk about a group named La Profector. 1999 when I go to Puerto Rico with Black Oro, Costa Rica, Black Oro. We never know about this group. And they were one of the biggest fans base. Then Black Oro get even more money than them because you know the road manager you can see those things. You can see what they paid. And our money is like us and for them was like this. But the fans base is like this, enormous. And today, in their own country, they can keep a concert and attract 100,000 people. Tell me which Jamaican artist today can play in front of an artist of 100,000 people in Jamaica with 3.5 million people.
None. We might not even have the venue for that either. But
we don't.
You're
even accumulatively, accumulatively with some fest and Sunsplash, we have never. Well, Sunsplash is different but today we don't have that. You put 100 artists and you still can't pull 100,000 people paid. I'm not talking about people where get ticket and complimentary paid fans to come and see artists in Jamaica, the land of reggae.
Yeah, that is facts. You can't. That's undeniable. We've seen that, and at the end of the day, the fact that we don't have a quality venue, and people say, well, Sumfest look good. It's not a quality venue. It's erected when Sumfest time come, right? So we don't have a quality venue for people to come and ply the trade. Now, again, when we talk about commerce, it's back and forth. So you can't have a quality venue if no revenue not coming. It just ain't gonna work. And we need investors and we need all those things. But we talk about those bands. What I will agree with you about is this. I've witnessed it. I've been there with our bands and other. I'll put it this way. I've been in venues where some of these white bands, Tribal Seeds, Through the Roots, Revolution, were there. And then some of our big name bands, not calling the name, were there too. All right. And then it was us. And what I learned from all of that stuff was merching. It was PR. It was extending beyond the stage, the actual grind of it. Because what I noticed with those little bands is that they always had their merch stuff set up. When at the end of the show, they were always interacting. They were always, we and I followed that blueprint. So we actually ended up making more money from merch and from CD sales in the location in an era of digital music, because these people weren't buying the CDs to go put it in their car. They're buying it to get a piece of the band and a piece of the artist. They're still going to listen on iTunes, which is a double sale for me. All right. But the bands that were the reggae bands, the major reggae bands, got off the stage. Bounce. You can't really talk to them. The boss out there, is a superstar thing, right? So a lot of what you mentioned right now in terms of the grind and the hustle, I can't be mad at them for, because they grinded and they hustled to get where they are. Now, again, talking about this music here, Lloyd, and the concept of us losing it, which I don't think we are. You mentioned in that post, after mentioning Ska, you said, and guess what? We might lose reggae and dancehall, right? And people started losing their minds. And we're talking about reggae and dancehall bands. We mentioned the bands that broke up and the bands and this and that. Why? Explain to me, why was it that you felt the need to mention not just Ska, which is damn near primitive at this point in time, just based on, sustainability, but the bread and butter that the people look at right about now, the reggae and dancehall, which is why you had people jumping out of cars on the highway, you had people, kicking over stools. Why did you feel the need to mention reggae and dancehall?
Let us just deal with reggae, right? Because we rarely ever did have any dancehall bands.
Right. True.
Dancehall, mostly a sound system driven part of the industry. So let us deal with the reggae. I think we all got very excited a couple of years ago when a number of bands were, coming out and making real good music.
Yeah.
And quite a few of them, never lasted. And at the same time when that was happening, or that has happened, over the same period of time when that has happened, we have seen where in the United States, the reggae band scene has exploded in terms of American-based reggae bands. So it's kind of jolted me, into wondering whether we could get to a stage at some point in time where, for whatever reason, the reggae bands in Jamaica are, when I say stifled into non-existence, because that's basically what is happening to them. You know, they are forced to shut down.
Right.
For various reasons, where other people thrive who are doing what they do. You know, and people even argue and saying, you know, the reggae from Jamaica, and it's so different, and they prefer that and all of that. There's always that argument. Yeah. But I have seen a trend where there are more non-Jamaican reggae bands being created and less Jamaican reggae bands. So if that continues, basic science and mathematics suggests that you might reach zero at some point.
Carry the one.
If you keep subtracting, there's gonna come a point in time when you're at zero. So you have to stop subtracting.
Wow.
And start adding.
Right.
And that's all I'm saying. That if we don't add or do things to add, and we keep subtracting, we may end up at zero. Yeah, and I'm witnessing some subtraction going on the Jamaican side of the calculator, and I'm seeing addition and multiplication happening on the non-Jamaican side. Yeah,
Carry the one.
That's what I'm witnessing right now, and we all are witnessing that.
Yeah.
And some people prefer to say, "Boy, the man of my tea for things, the man of my tea for things." And that's all you hear, them are tea for things. And I mean, I shouldn't laugh because it is ludicrous for someone to be sitting down here talking about people stealing Jamaican reggae music and culture when Jamaican music started by stealing American music.
Lloyd, keep a low profile.
And listening to American music and trying to sing like the Impressions and trying to sing like Curtis Mayfield.
Stop it!
Temptation. That's how we started.
It is so true.
That's how Studio One was built. And that's the nature of music. You know, people listen to other people and get inspiration from other people and grow their thing. So it is ridiculous for Jamaicans to be talking about people stealing Jamaican music.
So is it safe to say
by listening to R&B, and some man could have pick up some Cuban big band sound and say, "Well, our name's Catalites now," you know, and whatever. So we listen to other people's music to create our thing.
So I guess
a lot of people them who listening to our thing and playing it, and you know, that's what music is.
Maybe we can say the people them come back for them things.
Well, maybe, but I mean, that's how music is, and music has always been like that.
But let me ask you this, Lloyd and Fitzroy. Again, some arguments that sometimes we don't want to have. Anytime you create a product that's going to be sustained by a certain market, that market doesn't look like you. Because at the end of the day, what I've found within business and all other avenues is this. Non-Black people prefer to do business with non-Black people, just like how sometimes Black people prefer to work, because it's a little bit of familiarity, right? So my question pretty much is, we started it when it was started. And again, we know the origins of it, but when we started this from the get-go, it was inception. We were the pioneers, we were the creators, we were the ones that did it. To some extent, the only ones that knew how to do it. Is where we are today the inevitable place for us to be? We're looking at it right now, but was this the trajectory from day one when it was a product created for some other folks technically? Because yes, the inspiration of the music, and we're trying to uplift ourselves, and the Marley catalog and a lot of the impact and the potency of that catalog was really based on the time that he was around, right? It was revolutionary time, so it called for revolutionary music. Technically a turn-up time now, so it called for turn-up music. So that's kind of why things have shifted a little bit. But if we had always created this product for a market that was not us, is it or was it not inevitable that we were going to lose this, so to speak? Fitzroy?
No, I wouldn't say we can't lose our music. Sometimes you have to increase the things that you can't lose by giving it. And that's what reggae is, as Mr. Stanbury alluded to. Jamaican music adapted from a lot of music. J. Cole, I'm going to tell you something. You see a lot of these dancehall artists, if their music did sell a lot of units, today they will be liable to be sued because today melodies can be copyrighted. Melodies.
Yep.
It's not like before, and it can be detected because you have the mechanism now that when a song go out there, a man can the software or the algorithm can say, oh, this is adapted from the melodies that guy do 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So because you can't sue a man $1 million for a song that sell $10,000, it's a waste of time. So a lot of people know say a lot of these DJs that you hear them a DJ that sometimes listen to some original music. I mean, I say this is where the music come. This is where you get the melody from, and that concept. And yes, some man where say a star and them things to them great and them show up on people and hype up themselves. And listen to old people music.
Yep.
That's what they did. You see me?
Yeah.
So we have to appreciate the evolution and adaptation of music. Because last time I said Bob Marley is a Curtis Mayfield fans. Bob Marley is living in Delaware. Black Uhuru biggest tune was Solidarity, you know. And it took me 20 years to know since I sing over song.
It's a cover, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep.
A lot of my favorite Dennis Brown perhaps, and when we listen, I said, when we come to America and then my wife is a radio personality, and she play some tune and I said, I wish man them there sing. She said, Rocket, these are the originals. And I said, really? So I start research and find say a lot of Jamaican music are stolen melodies and stolen lyrical content. So we must appreciate what people are doing to our music today. That reggae and dancehall or whatever can be a potent force today.
Well, we prefer the word borrowed, okay? That stolen is a little.
No, it's just arrogant. Stolen music. The word stolen is arrogancy. Because no man can steal what knowledge cannot be stolen.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned melodies. That we can even get less intricate than melodies in the Lord. We can talk about a lot of careers that's been built on, and this is 2021 where we nowadays I am proud to say I have seen people who do covers or reinterpretations go about it the right way, right? But in the earlier part of the reggae era and stuff like that, a lot of the stuff that we love right about now, and a lot of music that propelled a lot of our artists to stardom that we rate and say, boy, and next coming at Jesus, the one that when him start singing, right, is songs that were completely taken and they weren't taken the right way, right? They're just taking them. A whole heap of songs. I am familiar with a lot of the original songs because growing up I was more introduced and more exposed to a lot of R&B and pop stuff than I was even reggae and dancehall growing up. But me not telling a lie, sometimes I used to start wonder why the man must sing Sanchez song wrong. Because you know Sanchez not always do what the lyrics are right, you know. But babyface, you know, sing the man thing properly. Yeah. But that's a whole other conversation, Lloyd. Is there any form of, because I've heard people complain a lot about people taking our music and it come up and sometimes we suing, and every time we win a lawsuit, we start fret. I remember when the Inika Mosey situation happened. I remember when the most recent ones happened. Every time we win a lawsuit, we start fretting. Because I start saying, one day when people get up and say, you know something, it's our time to start suing, even though there's not much to come, right? But it'll eat up your funds and legal fees, even if they're not getting the money. Is that a concern that we're going a little too far and the reprisal is on the horizon?
Well, not really, because someone isn't going to file a lawsuit against an artist who cover their song if it sells 200 copies.
Right.
You know? Right. And a lot of the songs that are covered or the songs that sample or use other people's works in it that are done by Jamaicans, they don't sell enough, you know, to be worth filing a suit. So I don't think we're going to see a situation where everybody will be suing the dancehall artists who are stealing melodies or what. I don't think that is going to happen because they're not selling enough to warrant paying a lawyer to go file a lawsuit to recover damages for breach of copyright. I don't think we're going to see that happening. what I think we should hope to see happening is, a greater appreciation for the fact that people listen to other people's music and get inspiration from other people's music. And Jamaica's music was built by doing that. And as they say, imitation is the best form of flattery. If what we were doing wasn't good, nobody would want to do it. So we should feel good that people are doing what we have been doing. That we were doing something good. So they want to follow, they want to copy it. So we should feel good about that rather than talk about people stealing. We should be concerned about the fact that we have thrown it away.
Right. So they
We
just
are
caught what we threw.
abandoning it. Yeah. We are the ones that should be looking at ourselves and saying, we are the persons who are not showing appreciation for this thing that
Right.
so many other people love. And then they just take it up and they package it and present it to people who they know love it. And we are busy searching, seeking to try and find something else that doesn't even look like us or sound like us.
That is so true. That is so true. This music thing, I have never seen something more polarizing. You mentioned something earlier, Fitzroy, that Babsy Grange is doing a great job, right? Which I won't counter, won't disagree, but I think it's sad. What's sad about it is that every single time somebody speaks of somebody doing a great job, it's Babsy Grange, right? So if my team is going out to play ball every night and say, yo, LeBron is doing a great job, then we're still losing because nobody else now do a great job, right? So the question I ask pretty much is, how do we, and if it is even possible, for us to expand upon the people who take reggae music seriously for the nation and help in propelling it? This is not rocket science. If she's been doing a good job, what if we had 10 Babsy Granges? Is it just a financial thing? Is it something? I've always felt that the thing about reggae music, why it hasn't gotten the support from government and other entities and even the private sector, is because they wouldn't be able to regulate it. And in other words, people would be getting wealthy that are not them. And people would be getting wealthy that don't look like them. It's almost like the marijuana thing where for years I feel like the reason why they cracked down on it as much as they did is because the best weed never come from America, right? And they couldn't regulate whatever. But now after they've decided how they can do it in the lab and chemicalize it and whatever the case may be and commercialize it, then it's all good. No, let's legalize the thing. From the musical standpoint, I kind of feel the same way in terms of the reason why we don't get that support from private sector and from the government is because if they do so, they personally feel like the revenue coming back is going in at another pocket outside of theirs. It doesn't mean they won't benefit from it, but that's the ultimate thing about greed. You stop looking into your pocket and start looking to what's in somebody else's pocket. What do you think?
Well, for me personally, I think it's a situation where we have had a tradition in Jamaica where people don't take music to be a serious business. Even the people who are in the business of music, even the artists who are in the business of music, don't take it to be a serious business. And if they don't take it to be a serious business, then the fans that they expect to support them are going to treat it likewise. The government, who they expect to support them, is going to give them some token support. And nobody with money is going to put their money behind them because the artists, are not treating it like a business. Yes, I think that is what has happened for far too long in Jamaica, which is why you may have individual artist success. You will always have the Shaggy and you have the Sean Paul and you have the Marleys and you have individual success, but you don't have growth of an industry. And on the other hand, inside of government, you have one government minister who, because she comes from the creative industries, so that's what Babsy is. That's where Babsy is from. She's from the creative industries. She's gonna keep doing what she can do because she understands. But overall, we don't take the business of culture to be a serious business, and that is all of us. The practitioners of the culture don't take it serious. They don't want to sign a paper.
Right.
And they don't understand anything to do with rights.
Right.
They don't try to protect the rights that they have when they create this content.
Still, or is that the past?
We have improved.
Okay.
We have improved a lot, right? But we're still far away from where we're supposed to be. You know, as people who are doing a business that is a very complex business. Music business is more complicated than hotel business. You know, hotel business have so much PhD people and degree people working in the hotel business. Kind of trained people. It's an easy business to run compared to a music enterprise. Far more complex. But nobody don't want to study anything. Nobody don't want to treat anything as important as a business practice. Whether it be paperwork or whatever, you know, punctuality, whatever it is. All the things that you need to be professional. We tend to play those things down as practitioners in the industry, first and foremost. So if you don't respect your business, the person who you want to invest in you ain't gonna respect your venture enough to put this money there. And the government is gonna think twice about giving you the full 100 support that is required to nurture any industry. You know, they put X amount of support behind tourism or whatever they identify as an important industry to the country's development. The government will support.
Right.
Everybody says music is the greatest thing for Jamaica, but you don't see it in terms of policy from government. You don't see it in terms of where money people put their investment. You know, Grace Kennedy. I said, man, is you post some? Is you? No, a friend of mine posted a Grace Kennedy Kalalo.
Yeah, in Africa.
You know, grown in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
So the man said Grace Kennedy reached Africa before Rasta. The Rasta man post that, you know.
Well, I'm glad you bring up the point there. I'm glad you bring up that point too. That's a very important point because even the Rasta man them were advocate for all these great things over the years. Even today, they when they industrialize.
Right.
These are the people, these are the corporate people that said it in the ganja, the peanut, name all the things, the healthy living.
Yes.
It's only talk. It's only talk. We don't industrialize. Because as the Lloyd Stanbury said, nobody want to sign documentations and the rights and fundamental principles and all these things because we're in the age now. We're in the information age. We need to get rid of this illusion mindset. You know what I say? And in terms of Bob's Grange, where I commend there, remember Lisa Anna was playing that role, but Bob's Grange is grassroots. She used to do producing, she used to do around Edward Siago, who link with the grassroots artists them. She know the exploitation, she know the foolishness that like the artists talk and do and give them rights. Because sometimes I will complain, say, boy, a man thief him rights. A lawyer teach me, say, it's a once a man present a document to you, it's a consideration. If you sign it, it become an agreement. So once it is signed by you, your representation or whoever, you can't send a man rob you.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists, they don't take, them look for the money, you know. Them look with a contract, they say.
The upfront.
You know what I say? I can have an experience where Lady Saw, she do a thing with vitamin C. When Miss Marsha seems to bring the contract, come give her, it was for $5,000, but there's a clause in it, say, if this song sell $1 million, you're not gonna get $1. And she signed it. And Miss Marsha tell her, I said, don't sign it. But who can reject 5,000 US at a time? So sometimes you sign away your rights, which a lot of artists did and still doing today because of lack of information and they don't want to listen to the right people.
Now in 2021, do we use phrases like lack of information still, or do we use phrases like ignoring the information? Because the thing about it is this: I can give that out to the predecessors and the OGs who started then and didn't have the info. But when you've had a plethora of people that go through the struggle, have gone through the struggle, have been exploited, have exploited themselves, right? And we look right about now and don't think we can learn from that. I don't know if I want to give them the out, but I agree with you 100%. No, somebody brought up something a while ago that has always been a part in my mind, this word of class. We come from a place in Jamaica where, you know, there's a lot of isms. Some people say, boy, it's not racism. It did it too. But there's something called classism, right? Jamaica, reggae music, dancehall music has always been branded as the music of the poor, the ghetto people, and whatever the case may be. And every single year we see the decline in appreciation, the decline in exposure, the decline in revenue. But one thing that continuously grows is carnival, right? Wind up, turn up, costumes up, costume not cheap, right? How much does class and classism, no different from, again, sports, certain sports you see, I've always felt like when it comes to basketball, a lot of athletes aren't appreciated as much. The Kobe's of the world, the Steph Curry's of the world, because of the fact that they didn't come from poverty. How much of that class factor weighs down heavily on reggae music? Why it's being stifled to some degree, especially within our homeland of Jamaica? Where does class factor?
I think it definitely plays a role in holding the progress of the music back. You know, from a number of different perspectives. The majority of the early players of the music were from rural and what we love to call inner city communities. You know, they were not middle class, from middle class families. There were some, you know, but the majority were not. Yeah. So there was always, you know, that disconnect between those players who came from that sector of the society and, you know, the people who had the money to spend on the cultural content that they created. And Jamaica is a classist society, has always been. You know, so that has affected the development of the music. You know, I mean, affected it so much so that there were reggae artists at a certain point in our history who came from middle class backgrounds. And if they were not as good as they have proven themselves to be, I mean, talk like Third World Band, you know, which is my all-time favorite reggae band.
Me too.
Of all bands, yeah. If they were not as good as they were, they probably would not have made it. Because when Third World came, it was about Uptown Boy, them, and there's that kind of thing going on, you know. So the classism in Jamaica has affected the development of our music.
Right.
No question about that. I mean, in recent years, we see it again. You know, when people like Protege come on the scene and start do their thing, and welcome Uptown Boy, and so we always have had that problem,
right?
You know, where the classism and the difference between who is uptown and who is midtown and downtown prevents the kind of a harmony and environment that music needs to grow and thrive. So yes, it has definitely played a part in stifling the growth of our music. Classism that still exists in Jamaica.
Right. What do you think about it
now as it was, but it has hampered us along the way.
I that's my outlook. What do you think, Fitzroy?
Yeah, I agree. But it's a revolution because when you say Bob Marley talks, say, yeah, you can't, we're not 4 foot. That's why we have a studio where we not have a bigger guy go record. That's why I say to you, say, a lot of people who don't, artists, musician, producer, who never have the will for the producing or be a part of the music. No one can stop you today. We are talking today right now. Yes, classism exists because you see the corporates, a lot of these artists that you see, you see a lot of artists, you know, the corporates pay them a lot of good money to come and perform at them seminars and all these things, but they don't talk those things, you know. The tourist industry too. A lot of artists go perform for the tourist boards and them get good money, more than what the regular promoter would pay them. But we don't know these things, but a lot of my friends them go do it too. So me know said the classism barrier will break that barrier. We broke that barriers. Even though it is in existence, we have break that barrier because no one can stop us today from doing reggae music. That is important. We not have to go beg a guy say, yo, we have to stand up our student and the gate man and say, yo, you have to go buy, go down, so go buy. No.
Right.
Them things they gone through the door.
Right.
A lot of things gone through the door. Today, a lot of those things gone through the door.
Now, the fact that people have access to do that right now, which again, the amazing thing about life is that every pro comes with a con, right? So right now, the isms are being broken down, we can say, based on the fact that accessibility is more abundant, and the resources and infrastructure is more cost effective now. You know, what it costs to get a song out or what to have a recording studio or whatever is not what it used to be back in the day. The question about that though is this: one of the biggest arguments that we have about reggae music and why it doesn't exceed the borders is quality, right? We claim, oh, quality is not right, but the easy and the access, the ease with which we can create music right about now, something start today and it done by tonight, is affecting the quality too. So that part of it is an argument that people bring up a lot. The quality. Lloyd, talk to me a little bit about this quality thing. The music that you hear coming out right about now. Don't get me wrong, I hear some music coming out that's straight quality, nice, dope, quality music, right? But then there's an abundance of stuff that is the other thing, right? I don't want to say it's inferior quality, but it ain't the nice quality. Talk to me a little bit about quality. Does that really affect the music and our success as much as people say it does?
I think I don't think it should. I think we have enough, and I'm going to use the word, because you used it, quality. We have enough quality music being produced. Enough. Yeah, a lot. Right. Yeah. Good music being made by quite a few artists in Jamaica. I think the issue is more a question of marketing, how we go about marketing what we have produced. There's always going to be substandard music because it is easy to make music. It's like you have substandard everything today because it is easy to do stuff with technology. So everybody think that they are now an expert in whatever an app or something, some free software allows you to do. You become an expert in that particular area, Technology has allowed us to be able to do a lot of things that we could not do before. So it's not unique to music. So we're going to have people making substandard music, both in terms of the technical quality of the music, as well as the content of the music, from a creative standpoint, lyrical content, the structure of the music, musically, because the persons who are making it just have access, but they don't know, they're tone deaf. They can hardly put together a good sentence, so they just chat a bag of rubbish, and call it lyrics. We're gonna have that because it's easy to make a record.
Right.
Yeah? But a lot of good music is being made, and if we had good marketing systems in place for that good music, I don't think the poor quality would have affected, the advancement of the music to any great degree.
I get
good
you.
quality will rise if we're making it available to the public. Problem we're having is that money always corrupts everything. So you can find, and we have found, that because of favors or payola or whatever people use to get their thing pushed more than another person's, that substandard thing might rise. And maybe they're doing a better job at marketing than the people who are doing quality music.
It's amazing you say that,
marketing strategies might be questionable. Don't get me wrong, but they're
to say the least,
paying attention. Yeah, they're paying attention to the marketing of their product.
To say the least, sir. Questionable to say the least. You know, we talk about when I talk about quality of the music, I bring that up primarily. We're talking about the overall sound, you know, mixing, mastering the whole nine. But the reason why is because as we grasp at straws, we try to say, okay, this is what it is, that's what it is. I have found commercially, hit wise, right? The songs that have been the most commercially successful technically aren't necessarily the best produced if you play them amongst the ones that we deem the greatly produced ones. No different from, I've always found that the trained, no disrespect, the trained musicians tend to make what we call better quality, but not better records, right? A song, people say, why this song, the lyrical, da 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 da. Somebody can sing better, but they're good records out there, right? That may not be the best produced records, the lyrics might not be, but it's just an awesome record. But you mentioned no in that whole mix, sometimes the lyrical part of it. One thing that people have always used to put on reggae music is the quality from a lyrical standpoint, which I've always had a little bit of an issue with that because of the fact that not every music, because it's branded reggae, is supposed to save the world. Sometimes our music does that if you feel good, rock and sway and groove, right? But here's the thing. In other genres, terrible lyrics don't inhibit the sales of the music, right? R&B music right about now, the worse the lyrics is, the more it sells. Hip-hop music, the worse the lyrics is, the more it sells, right? Reggae music, I feel like, don't get me wrong, people are listening to reggae for a different reason. However, my question is this, and what I'm trying to figure out is, that blame that we point on the lyrical content, is it real, or is it another straw that we're grasping at?
I think it's real because reggae music is different from other music forms. Yeah, reggae music grew and became popular because it represented issues more than any other music that I'm aware of. You know, and that is what provided the fuel for the growth of reggae music. It grew and expanded at a time when a lot of the writers were addressing issues, and issues don't have to only be confined to, you know, apartheid and injustice and so on. Issues can relate to love and relationships as well. But reggae music focused in its growth period, or Jamaican music rather, grew primarily because it spoke to issues that people could relate to in their everyday life, issues that affected people,
Right.
that meant something to people. And it didn't have to be about a struggle and a revolution. It could be about a love affair. You know?
Right.
So that is what reggae became known for, a music that spoke to people's emotions and what they were living and experiencing. Yeah. So when a man come and sing something that just don't make no sense, it's a problem for the advancement of reggae. You know,
Right.
it is to how people perceive reggae and Jamaican music as something that is inspiring, uplifting, soothing.
So kumbaya music.
It conjures up all kinds of emotions, make you want to get up and go fight for your rights. You know, that's the nature of this music.
But does that work simultaneously when it comes to commercial viability though? Because the music that is there to inspire and is kumbaya or whatever the case may be are people. And here's the thing, why I say I wonder about the lyrical part of it too, because when we think of the artist and the music that has sold the most, right? We're talking about Bob Marley, right? We're talking about music that's been inspired by his times, because I'll say it again, views of G. Cole don't represent Mr. Lloyd Stanbury or Mr. Fitzroy Francis. The thing about reggae music is this. I don't know if Bob was born in 1993 and dropped the same catalog, if it would have the same effect. I question that, right? Just based on the times.
If Bob Marley was here today.
No, not if he was here today. Not if he was here today.
I'm saying that if Bob was here today and Bob Marley decided he was going to do a show today and sing the same songs that he wrote 40 years ago, if he was going to do a free show, there would be no venue.
True.
That crowd.
True.
Because of
But
no, hold on. With today's issues, today's issues, you could sing
right.
those same songs that he sang over 40 years ago and
And
draw
have
the
that
biggest
impact.
crowd on the planet. Yes.
Right. Based on origination, how it started there. The question, what I'm trying to figure out is this: how much is it really the times? Because we talk about him coming right now and singing songs right now, but let's say it was those times, right, had passed, and Bob came out 1992 when the things are a little different. You think it would have the same impact it has had over from the 70s till now?
I'll have to refresh my memory as to what was happening in the 90s because that's the phenomenal thing about Bob Marley and Wailers music is that it has worked with every time.
Right.
From the time that he made it right through, it has been relevant every day from when it was made up to today. There was no point in time when it became irrelevant or less impactful. You know, so and it's because of because his music more than any other spoke to people's soul and their emotions and things that affected them. You know, and not just Bob, all of the artists who contributed to the growth of Jamaican music,
right,
from 60s, 70s coming right through. They wrote songs that touched people and spoke to their daily experiences and them soul.
Right,
it wasn't frivolous, nonsensical stuff. You know, so we have too much of that, I think. Frivolous, nonsensical, just a bunch of words put together.
So there's no equilibrium.
In a video, in anything.
Which is what we come to the reggae table
from those songs. It just disturbs the equilibrium more than anything else.
And we come to the reggae table for sustenance, and we're not getting that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I asked,
and it doesn't always have to be revolutionary.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be about Rastafari. It doesn't always have to be. You know, it can be a love song. It can be about three little birds.
Right.
You know, rise up this morning. It can just be the sun is shining and the weather is sweet.
Right.
And it makes me want to move my dancing feet. You know, it doesn't have to be I need to go and fight and lick down Babylon wall. It doesn't have to be that. Reggae speaks to everything that we experience. And we're losing that among a set of new artists who just string some words together.
You know, the main reason why I agree, which I have to agree. One of the main reasons why I always agree with that sentiment is, and I ask everything because of the conversations I have, but one of the main reasons I agree with that sentiment is this. We never got back to the Bob era because the Bob time never resurfaced. However, in the 90s, there's a time when we were closest to that type of music. That was the era when I call it the one drop era too. The Sizzlers and everybody with job before or after the name was doing their thing, right? The Lucianos of the world. And that was the type of music that was coming out of Jamaica heavily. I'm not saying that there weren't dancehall things creating a somewhat balance, but that was a time when the one drop era was there. Sizzla had a barrage of great tunes, Luciano, Jack Heward, Everija, Ja Mason, Jeverija, right? And that, as I traveled the world, that was one of the times when, since Bob's era, which I was not alive for, that I saw the closest to what I was taught and told based on Bob. So it makes me say and wonder if that is really true, where the lyrical part of it, whether it be revolutionary lyrics or not, but just lyrics of love, because even revolutionary lyrics are love lyrics, because it's telling you we're fighting ultimately for our family, which is love. All right. So even just the love songs, you mentioned the Three Little Birds, we had a bunch of those coming out too. But right now, it's a little bit more aggressive. And when we talk to the non-Jamaican ear and the non-Caribbean ear and so forth, it almost seems like that's a little hard to digest. Fitzroy, when you're putting out music, artists come in your studio, artists that you want to work with or stuff like that. Is that something you are conscious of? Is that something that you are very, very conscious of to say, listen, what we're putting out message-wise, even though the artist is bad, because I only but that we hear a negative song and it's bad, but we just can't make it past my CD collection. We can't share that with the world. Are you very, very conscious of that when an artist comes in your studio, or at least requests to do some work with you?
Yes, I am. And I look at the music like a battery. A battery have negative and have positive. But it is what make the computer go, or the radio played. You know, it's not positive. The battery don't have just too positive or negative. Because even in the Bob Marley era and time, we still have the general echo. We still have the Welton era, and we had the raggedy thing in that answer series. So everything is the same to me. You know, it's just, what really happened today is that is what the people have been fed with. They have not the music that is being played. You know, because today, you know, there's a lot of more university students who are listening to reggae. Okay? Did you know that one of the biggest circuit for reggae is the college market?
Yep, and college radio.
And a lot of our artists, they can't go there because their lyrical contents. You now go to university and when you look upon a man that come sing some ill grammar thing to you, you think you're going to accept that? No. So the whole dynamics change. Bob Marley, I look at music in different era now. So yes, for Bob Marley is exception. Because Bob Marley did live in America. He had an experience that a lot of artists never have. Because some man come America, but Bob Marley didn't live here. So he understand the economics, he understand the way of life, the way of people think, and he put that in his music. That's why today is the most relevant artist in every era. Even John Lennon speak about that. They ask John Lennon, you know, which music him see as the future, and him say reggae. And he wasn't talking about what happened today. He was talking about Bob Marley, the Third World, the Mighty Diamond, the Black Huru, the Culture, the Burning Spear, the Jimmy Cliff, etc., etc. You understand? Yes, dancehall and what is an escape for enough you, because we say I whole up of the bad youth them. I whole up a gunman turn musician, you know, because if it wasn't the music, a lot of them would have killed people and rob and them thing. You understand? We understand the whole dynamics about that. That's why sometimes I'm not gonna come on the here and bash a lot of youths. You know, look for Shabba Rankin. Shabba Rankin sit down beside 27 man and Joes will tell him, say, Shabba, you see you, me I carry God jammies. All of them friends them dead. Every single one of them died. It's only him alone today alive.
Wow.
Which is a testament for them that music can save you. And yes, the type of music that he did was seen as the raggedy. And we will compare that today what's going on with what's happening. I said, no, but it's a whole different thing. It's like it got to a different level. It turned X-rate. It's more than
like a pasta.
Yes. Exactly. You know, so for me, when an artist come to me and say I'm gonna sing a song, I tell them say, listen, can no person say, boy, I'm gonna write up music. Me a man, I like grammatize music because believe me, I don't like ill grammar. Because enough reggae man, you know, them sing proverbs and adjectives that I will for them thing not good enough. But become it, as a Stanbury say, money behind it. But me don't play that game there because me tell a man say, yo, you can't sing at Israel as I was supposed to be. If a man want to vex, me not advise him. I'm not gonna advise you because me can't make a man think say, boy, Fitzroy friends are put that true. That's why my music are selected. You know?
Yes, sir. Hooked on Phonics.
I'm not gonna produce it, so go find a different producer. You don't have to sing for me. I like write out music and grammatize it, and then we can sit in and say, all right, I can go in the studio and we'll structure the lyrical content and we'll put a good music together. So when kind of go proceed with more know say after 100 minutes there on a man can say, nah man, Fitzroy Francis produce some good music, you know, and it will outlive me. That even my children can be proud of me. That's what I'm talking about.
Point. I mean, if you look back at the artists that we love to quote and reference, you know, when I say Baba, when I say Peter,
right?
No, and just listening to
intellectual perfecter.
Yes, and listen, the English is properly written.
Yeah.
Like Peter Tosh, the most militant of all of them. Yeah, but he wrote his songs in the Queen's English.
Yeah.
He chat it like a Jamaican do, you know.
Right.
Yes.
But look at
Yes.
what he wrote.
Yes.
Quite very
Everybody who
articulate.
speaks English, yes, everybody who
Yes.
speaks
And
English
him create
understands
words to like
every
him say
word that
systems
Peter
and
Tosh
all these
said.
things.
Right.
Yeah. So
Understand every single word that Peter Tosh utters in his songs. Every word is understood.
Even if it's conversation.
You know, and you can't be more militant and more roots and
Down
more
Peter does.
Rasta and more African and more Jamaican than Tosh.
Yep.
So all of them good people who think that them have to chat like them don't know what them saying to represent Jamaica. It's nonsense.
Right. Right.
Bob Marley, same thing. If you listen to Bob Marley's lyrics, everybody who speaks English understands what he's saying. So that is why their music will live forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And that is why they will be acclaimed the way that they are. You know, Black Uhuru,
Exactly.
same thing. Mighty Diamonds,
Yes.
same thing. Dennis Brown, same thing. Where's Your Isaac, same thing.
Right.
They sing in English.
The ones we see successful, people can understand.
People can understand what they are saying.
Yep.
You know, so it is
J.
important.
Cole, a lot of people don't understand Jamaican patois now. So when a man gonna say, yeah, man, talk, but when you go in front of multicultural people, if you don't speak standard, not even stand, but Jamaican English that people can understand. That's why dancehall is limited. Because people, I'm gonna say, what do you mean by that? They don't understand and dance to the music, but they don't understand a word. A lot of us are saying.
Right.
Believe me.
What I would say
And
is that is why Ed Sheeran's dancehall will outsell their dancehall any day.
Because everybody can understand.
Everybody understands what Ed Sheeran is saying. And he say, I'm in love
Right.
with the shape of you. But it's pure dancehall in playing.
Right. Right.
The
Right.
dancehall sung that 100%. But what he's saying can be understood by hundreds of millions of people. So
Right.
if you
Baby.
want to, if you want to be in that market and play in that space, you know, then yeah, we love our language, Pato, we love it, and everybody love it. Other people love it, but it communicates to a limited number of people.
It's not
I
universal.
understand that. It's not
So there's
universal. So you're going to limit
No.
yourself in terms of who you will reach.
Right. Right. That's true. It's almost like speaking another language, which is the reason why some of us don't listen to some Spanish records and whatever, because we just don't understand it. It's no different, right? No, there's two things. One, we talk about the language and comprehensive. Can people comprehend what's going on? Are we relying on the rhythm? Are we relying on the beat? Which is ultimately why at one point in time, producers were bigger than the artists, because to some degree you could have just run the instrumental because you weren't understanding the song. The other thing I wonder about, we talk about all the poor things from lyrics to attitude to this and that, but it seems like the most detrimental to it all comes right back down to poor business and poor business practices. So now what we have, which we never had before, are tertiary institutions that are focusing on this. And when I say institutions, I just mean two. You know what I mean? I'm just making it sound sexy. But we have Edna Manley, and we could, to some degree, I don't even know if we want to consider Alpha a tertiary institution, but it is a higher institution musically, right? So we have people who are going to Edna to study musicianship and get a formal training in that. We got people who are going to Edna to study management and all kinds of stuff. Since education, literacy, poor business practices are what hindered the music, has the time for success passed, or are these institutions right now that have these students going in there and learning and getting themselves educated? Are we on the horizon, and are we on the cusp of a turn? Are we seeing that bell curve now where things are going to be better because we have more educated people coming into the field? Or has that place and that time for success passed for us?
I don't think the time for success has passed. And I think we have done a good job in terms of dealing, well, we have done a reasonably good job in terms of dealing with the educational aspect of things. Sum it up, I would say creatively, we do not have a problem. We never ever did have a problem. In terms of understanding the business of entertainment, we are better today than we were years ago. So we have improved right there. What is still missing is the marketing. It's still missing. And I'm referring to Jamaican music when I'm speaking here now. What is still missing is the marketing.
Right.
Because we all know that Jamaican music is a global product that the whole world consumes and wants to continue to consume. What is missing is our ability to tap into the markets. First of all, to decipher the markets, to know where they are, you know what, and to tap into them and participate effectively in Latin America, for example, which is the fastest growing music market in the world. You know, we have not tapped adequately into that market. I mean, the US market, we're struggling to maintain a footing within the live reggae market of the United States. When I say we, I'm referring to the Jamaican-based artists.
So are we innately and culturally poor at marketing? Is that what it is? Because they've been doing a good job of marketing the country, the tourism, the beaches.
No. We know how to market. We just don't want. For some reason, we don't want to market reggae.
Oh, okay. So we don't lack the know-how. We
don't lack the know-how about marketing at all. That's not what I'm saying. We have not applied the marketing skills and investment savvy that we all have. We invest in all kind of ventures that explode. Jamaicans have done that. You know, Jamaicans have marketed stuff that the whole world consumes. Grace Kennedy, Kalalo coming out of it reached Africa before us, as the man said. Right?
Kalalo the benchmark.
No, I'm just saying that we know how to market stuff. Right? We do. You know. So is that we don't have marketing skills. That does not apply them to our cultural industries, our cultural sector.
Right.
No, that to me is the missing link.
Right.
We have improved, we have educated. Edna Manley has done a phenomenal job. Edna Manley College in creating musicians over the last 15, 20 years. Phenomenal job.
Right.
Edna Manley College never shut down. I don't know what is happening to reggae music right now. No, seriously.
Yeah, I agree. Completely, 100%.
Because they have really turned out a lot of musicians, real musicians. Yeah,
right.
Which is the foundation of any music industry. You have to have people who can play the music.
Right.
So we don't have a problem in that area.
Right.
And we have educated and informed a lot more people about how the business works.
Right.
We still need to do a lot more with that, you know. Right? But we're still not marketing.
Right.
We have not put the structures in place to allow us to compete in the markets where people want to consume this music that we have created. So they just consume it from the American bands in that market, the European bands in the European market, and the Latin American bands in the Latin American market, which are the three gigantic segments of the world music market. All of them, reggae is big business. It's not for the Jamaican-based people.
Well, something that I really like both of your opinions, and the clock is up on us. So well, I shouldn't say the clock is up on us. The clock done pass away. But there's a lot of things that are recurring themes here. No matter who we have the conversation with, where we have the conversation, as long as we're having an intelligent conversation about the culture and the music, there are certain themes that are recurring. Poor business practices, poor marketing practices, right? The marketing thing comes up a lot. The lyrics come up a lot, right? Oftentimes we even talk about, does it really matter? Because at the end of the day, we talk about the articulation and of course, how people can enunciate and make the things sound great. That's you, all of us over 40 years old, at least me over 40. But are the youth trying to hear that? And at the end of the day, who's the consumer? I buy music. Not everybody that is my age group around me buys music. What I will say is, surprisingly enough, I've found that the people younger than me are worse. They've come up in an era that they think music is free, so them not buy, period. So we have a whole plethora of different things right now that are confusing and conflicting the market. What I'd like to find out is this now. We're talking about liaisons. How do things get to certain places? Bob Marley's success, a lot of people that attributed to Chris Blackwell. A lot of other bands that I know of that have made it in the doors of certain places, their representation has been white, right? Now, at the end of the day, I've had this conversation off air, on the air, whatever the case may be. How important is it for us to have that white manager, have that white representation for us to get out there? Because again, we're trying to get into a marketplace, into an arena that doesn't look like us. A lot of times they want to work with people who look like them. How important is it? And I say this with this double-edged sword, because that means ultimately taking away the job and the responsibility from those people who, I don't want to say are entitled to it, but are trying to build up right now. Those managers going to Edna Manley and other places right now to learn this craft and this management skill. How much and how strongly do we also rely on and need the white person to be our liaison to the world?
I don't see it as a color question. I see it more as a question of the need for collaboration and cooperation to take your product into a new space. Yeah. So if you want to get your product into Asia, you strike the appropriate collaborative business agreement with someone who is an Asian person. So that is how I look at it.
Right.
So if you want to get your product into a market that is predominantly Caucasian, then you structure the right kind of collaborative arrangement with someone from that community. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you are giving up your space by any means. You just need to structure the right kind of collaborative or cooperative agreement between you and the person in that market or that community that you are not a part of.
Right.
And international trade and international business has always been like that. Music business is no different from that business, from any other business.
Right.
So I don't look at it from the standpoint of a color situation. I more look at it as you needing to collaborate with someone from a community that you are trying to penetrate, that you are not a part of. Yeah, and you just strike the right arrangement with someone within that community to advance yourself. That is how I look at it.
And Fitzroy?
Yeah, I agree with what like Mr. Lloyd Stanbury said, and it's like going into Europe as a road manager. You still have to have a tour manager who can speak the language. You can't go in Sweden or in France. Because most Jamaica people, we don't know other language. So sometimes it's representation, proper representation, with, as Mr. Lloyd Stanbury said, collaboration. I have no problem with that. I don't see no color when it comes to those things, because I have not seen no reggae artists who've been successful with an all-black person up to today. I've not seen it. If somebody can prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I've not seen it.
Right.
I've not seen it. And when you have black people in Jamaica and do your business, they either underprice you or overprice you. And then it mash up the whole thing.
Right.
Because a lot of artists going out there, going on tour, and when you see them rider, them have all these things, them rider, when the promoter look, the promoter say, wait, I'm gonna spend $50,000 to make $1,000. It's not gonna work. You know? So that's why a lot of artists don't even tour. Promoter out there, them not accommodating that.
Right.
You're not. So it take collaboration, and people can understand. So because the reggae music is facing a great inflation, right? A lot of people don't know. Inflation is eating our industry. A lot of artists, as big as them things to them in Jamaica, as great as Barrister Man is. You ever see Barrister Man go on the West Coast go tour?
Speak about that all the time. He's very strong with the diaspora.
He can't.
Right.
He can't, because there's no market. There's no one gonna buy it. a ticket to come and see a Barry Salmon.
Right.
You don't have that market.
But is that because the diaspora is not heavy on the West Coast? Because what I realize is Barris is the king of the diaspora. New York,
go back to
Miami,
marketing. It go back to marketing. So maybe I don't want to speculate or assume or alleged. Maybe him don't have the right person collaborating with. You understand?
I got you. Yeah.
So it take collaboration with the right person in the community that you want to be successful.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's necessary, you know.
I'll say this: the most inspiring thing about the conversation with you, gentlemen, today is that I hear optimism. You know, a lot of time we sit back and we listen with one ear. Anything will sound like, oh Lord, it don't, it depress, it don't. But I hear optimism, and I realize that you both see the trajectory as still an upward one, and the light at the end of the tunnel, and that reggae music for us, not just reggae, because reggae is a broad term right about now. It can sell out the world, and we still hungry. But you guys see where reggae music itself can be prolific, and it can be commercially viable for us if we do it right. And that's something that I really, really appreciate. Gentlemen, we're out a whole lot of things. The main one is time, right?
Okay.
So, and it's a pleasure chopping it up with you guys. Again, we can't do this in a one-day thing. We're going to probably come on every afternoon, but that's a different conversation. All right, my people will reach out to you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Well, I'm very fortunate. I must say I'm very fortunate, because usually at this time I wouldn't be available.
Wow.
I would not be available. I would be somewhere, working outside the music. I work for Sephora, which that distribution company teach me a lot of things. When I go there, I just say, why we can't have an industry like this?
Wow.
Pressing reggae music, distributing. Rihanna become billionaire now because of Sephora. Rihanna become billionaire because of Rihanna, because they are the exclusive distributor of Fenty brand.
Right.
So man say Rihanna become billionaire, and I wonder, no, it's Sephora, the company that I work with. And I realize why. That is why I say we have no industry and we have no commerce.
Right. Well, I do hope the necessary people, the powers that be, the ears that need to hear, have been paying attention, listening. Even if they don't reach out to you guys individually for collaborations, they will definitely reach out and say, you know what, I heard something, I learned something, and I take something from there. Mr. Lloyd Stanbury, still loving that book, The Reggae Roadblock. I do think that we always talk about the book, This Business of Reggae Music. The business of music, which I have. I do think we should probably add your book into that, because some people need to soak up some of that. So thank you so much for that piece of literature. Drop some information, because I know you do a ton of things. There's Majestic Media, have a whole bunch of things. Think you have a spaceship at launch next week, but that's a different thing.
Mine, got crashing.
but I'm not in that league at all.
Drop some social media info for the masses to keep up with you, please, sir.
Well, social media wise, Lloyd Stanbury, you put Lloyd Stanbury or Majesty Media is the easy way, but the majestymedia.com, lloydstanbury.com, at Lloyd Stanbury, at Majesty Media Global, on any one of those platforms that we frequent, whether it be, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's just Lloyd Stanbury or Majesty Media Global.
Right.
That is all, it will connect.
Gotcha.
And for me, those Fitzroy Francis are Mindful 13 Records. Once you type Google that, it's right there.
I love it. Gentlemen, once more, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your patience, and more than anything else, thank you so much for sharing the knowledge. I need it, and I know the masses out there need it too.
And before you go, I want to say thanks, Jonah Marie. Thanks, Miss Jonah Marie. For reaching out. And it's a pleasure being on this platform, especially with Sir Lloyd Stanbury. As I told you about Mr. Lloyd Stanbury cassette, musical speaking, I listen to them every day in my home. So a lot of knowledge that I attain is from that man right there.
I love it. I love it. Or yourself, man. I have two kidnappers outside door. I have to kidnap a bridge them outside. So we soon throw him in the van and he'll be on here every day under duress, but you will not be able to tell. So gentlemen, once more, I appreciate y'all big time. Thank you so much. We shall do this again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah?
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Y'all be safe. Blessings. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a dope convo, and I appreciate my guests. I appreciate you all. It's a vibe. I'm a squeeze off that Chuck Turner tribulation. It bad. All right, let's get into it. Let's go.
Tribulation is going on us and why. Tribulation is going on us and tribulation is going on us and why. Tribulation is going on us and look around and tell me what you see. From my observation, this is how things be. My last respect for the giver of life. And they think about this war and the strife. I'm not the roast of another week tonight. My little sister got me last night. I'm home prophet to teach you them right. Almighty Father is living that right. Tribulation is going on us and why. Tribulation is going on us and tribulation is going on us and why. Tribulation is going on us and how many mothers see and cry? Senseless killing their children are dying. A little shot never see.
I want to take a minute to say thank you all. Every last one, I want to say thank you. All right, I appreciate y'all hanging out with us today. It's been a pleasure. Again, my guests, Mr. Lloyd Stanbury, Mr. Fitzroy Francis. And here's the deal. We're going to have these conversations a little bit more often, all right? It's the second time having Mr. Stanbury on, first time having Mr. Francis on, but we got to do this a little bit more frequently because there's a lot of information. Hey, for no other reason, I love getting the information. I love studying. I love soaking up the information at the feet of those people who have the knowledge to share. Because guess what? People when don't know nothing talk loud and talk enough. So I want to talk to the people who have the info to share. But again, I want to thank you all so much. Remember, if you haven't yet followed us on social media, it's at MyGCole, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I want to thank all the massive and crew over there at Jamaicans.com. Everybody listening from near and far. All right, Royal Zion Hannes Radio, everybody. All right, big up, and thank you. Once more, when you get off of here, hop over to YouTube, put in Homegrown with G-Cole, subscribe to the YouTube channel, click on the notification bell. We'll let you know who's going to be in the building and when. Again, thank you so much to my guests. We have some very insightful conversations coming up right now. The series we're going on beyond the microphone. All right. So of course we talk to your favorite artists and producers and stuff like that, but we're getting behind because that's where we need to be, behind not the culture, but behind the scenes. All right. We're getting there and we're going to stay there for a minute. All right. So we have some interesting conversations coming up. Francine. All right, but I want to thank y'all so much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Homegrown with G-Cole. I got to go.
Nakikinig sa música, Homegrown with G-Cole.
Estás escuchando Homegrown con G-Cole.
您现在正在收听的是 Homegrown with G-Cole.
You're listening to Homegrown with G-Cole.
Tribulation is going on us now.
Thank y'all so much for all the comments, man. I appreciate y'all, all right? Remember, when you get off, share the links to the Massive One crew that haven't heard it yet can. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the podcast. Homegrown with G-Cole is available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Radio.com, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're there, all right?